Galatians, don't underestimate what God can do through you. God used what the ancient Near Eastern world considered weak, women, 10,000 men, a small army, and wives to confound and defeat the wise and the mighty. God brought down the abusive Jabin and the arrogant Sisera in his ways and timing and brought deliverance through a humble homemaker. But was Jael the savior of God's people? Now, if we were to read Jael's account carefully, we will learn that there was no divine inspiration. Jael acted out of her own will and was motivated in her own way. She had her own agenda. And if we are being honest, her actions were even violent and not at all aligned to God's character. After all, was Jael even a believer of Yahweh? So Galatians, don't miss this. One of the implications here is that God can incorporate the free will activities of human beings into His plan for His own glory and for the salvation of His people. Let me say that again. God can incorporate the free will activities of human beings into His own plan for His own glory and for the salvation of His people. God here is using the weak and lowly to reveal His glory. And this is often repeated. It's an often repeated theme in the Bible and even in our own lives. So friends, may we never write off the valuable contributions of the poor, weak, and marginalized. May we never write off what God can do through us. So long as we are willing, God can use us. And so here's our final learning point from Jael's life. God can use anyone to accomplish His purpose. There is no one whom God cannot call or use to accomplish His purpose. You'll be surprised at what God can accomplish through you. Our job is to do our part wherever we are, whenever we can. And if you remember who's orchestrating your steps, you will probably not underestimate the mundane things that you are doing. My friends, God's invisible hand is upon your life. So why don't you turn to someone beside you for the last time today and say to that person, God can use you. God can use you. These remarkable events are clear about one thing, that God is the one raising generals, deploying armies, restricting enemies, dictating strategies, and effecting victories. Yes, God is still at work in bringing to pass His plans over our lives. So we know that a general was not the savior of Israel, but neither was a judge or a homemaker. The author of Judges wants us to see that it was not Deborah, Jael, or Barak, but God Himself who was Israel's savior. Galatians, let me bring it home for all of us. We need to trust that today God is still at work through you. Even in the past, God was at work through you, and in the future, God will be at work through you. You may not feel adequate enough for the task. You may feel that your past disqualifies you from being used by God. You may even feel that you are not ready or you're not gifted in what He is calling you to do. All these may make you feel inhibited to serve. But when we don't trust God in precisely these difficult situations, we lose out on the opportunity for God to work through us. And worse still, we may even find ourselves hopelessly exerting all kinds of time and energy trying to make up the difference. We want the assurance up front that the risk will be worth it and that we will succeed. But God has often already given us the assurance in His Word. And He wants to involve us so that He may accomplish His plan through us. Yes, we will face great odds. Yes, we will face risks. That is why all the more we must fix our eyes on Him and not on the enemy or our fears.